4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
They're guys. They do magic. They are the Magic Guys.
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Magic Guys podcast, episode 172. I am your host, Nick Kay, and joining me a little later on will be our good friend, Josh Nabito. But fear not, we have two amazing guests this week, all the way from the UK. If you're wondering where that is, that's where all their convicts came from that then came to my country in Australia. And then they got really upset about it. They were like, hey, man, this is kind of nice. You got beaches here. Why are we sending out convicts? And it's very funny. So joining me, our two very pale brothers from across the pond, Mr. Paul Fowler and Kev G. Make some noise, friends. Bam, bam, bam.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Paul, it's really good. It's really good to have you back, buddy. Please, for the ones who haven't met you before, tell us who you are, Paul Fowler.
Yeah, so I'm Paul Fowler. I'm a full-time professional magician from the UK, specialising in corporate events and trade shows. And I also, over the last kind of couple of years, have had a few product releases as well.
Some amazing products, in fact, some of my favorites. And, of course, joining us, our new friend, Mr. Kev G. Kev, tell us who you are, friend.
Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm Kev. I'm from Leicestershire in the UK. I do magic part-time, so I do weddings and parties and stuff at the weekends. Other than that, I'm a full-time secondary school teacher, and I've had a number of releases out to the magic community from like 2016, I think was my first one. So yeah, that's a roundup of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. In fact, so Kev, it's really exciting when we always make new friends in the podcast, and you would sort of make mention that you came from a magic competition before you arrived. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was just over at a magic competition in my nearest magic club, which is Coventry Magic Society. So I had a good time taking part, and I was there judging the parlour competition, which was always fun.
Wonderful. And how is the talent as far as from the judge's perspective, and what are you judging them on is my first question.
Yeah, it was really good. There was a good mix, and I think the categories from memory, there was skill, you're testing me now, to entertainment, and I can't remember the third one.
It was a great judge. It was one of the best judges.
I was mainly like making notes, and then I did all the scoring afterwards. But yeah, it was good. There was some really good acts, which had some good. I always like to see an act that's got like a theme to it, so there's like a thread running through all of the effects, and yeah, definitely some ideas that could like grow into something a bit bigger from what they were. So yeah, I really enjoyed watching that and taking part and making some notes.
That's wicked. Well, gentlemen, thank you both for being here. And as well as thanking you fine people for being here, we want to thank our guests who are joining us here live in the chat. We have Thomas, Gary, we have Caden, Tim Maskin, House Till the End, Scotty Link. Thank you all for being here. Now, guys, don't be afraid to shoot your questions through the chat. Of course, we'll ask both Kev and our good friend Paul what they all are. But first, gentlemen, there is a speaking of releases, which you've been doing since 2016, Kev, that's amazing. And Paul, I actually own quite a few of your releases, which I absolutely adore. I'm most excited about your new one coming out, which is Cubeify. Can we please talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, let's talk about Cubeify. So yeah, Kev, you do the honors, mate. I don't want to talk too much. You do it. You do it.
Sure. So basically what Cubeify is we've taken a Rubik's Cube, and you've probably seen that you can get like Sudoku cubes with numbers on and picture cubes. But what Cubeify is a cube with letters on. So I've actually got one just here. I can show you. So it's a cube which has got letters on. The idea being that it's a little bit like Scrabble, in that the more that you mix up the cube, the more different combinations around the different words and stuff you can get on the cube. So Cubeify is a revelation system whereby you can have a celebrity selected and you can do a revelation on the cube, but it's not just like a one trick thing. There's multiple phases in it, so you can do multiple things with it, or you can have multiple selections. And it's just a really nice way to be able to connect cube magic to an audience where you're linking into music as well as like sort of like the hook to it. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, and it's like there's lots of different routines and things you can do with it, as Kev was saying. One of the things I love to do with it, and I think Kev does as well, is you introduce the cube as kind of what it is, and you use the letters as kind of a tool to help you learn the positions that the squares need to be to solve it, and then you practice to a song. And then the idea is by the end of that song, you want to be solving the cube. So the idea is you try and link it in with the music and the cube, and it's just very fun to perform. But probably, well, one of the most, if not the easiest cube thing you will perform, right, Kev? I mean, it's super simple, and I mean my cube magic is okay. It's limited. I mean, I'm not a massive cube enthusiast, but you know, I've got the experience of solving a cube and some cube routines like matching effects, and I've played around with the gimmicks over the years, and I've been doing it for years, Rubik's Cube routines. But Kev is what you would call a Rubik Cube enthusiast. He's a magician, but he's also very, very clever with Rubik's Cube as well. So yeah, he's genius, put it that way.
So what I'm sort of curious about is with the letters on it, for me, I'm an okay cube guy myself, but a part of me makes it feel like it's a little daunting having all those letters on it. Is it something that is that stupid of me to think like that? It's like, no, man, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Don't be frightened of it because it's got letters on it. Because I genuinely look at it and go like, that looks too perplexing for me.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that's the nice thing about it, because it feels like it's even more impossible than just doing a Rubik's Cube, when in fact there's no difference. And in order to do the whole effect, you've just got to learn 4 moves. That's all you've got to learn, and you can do all of the revelations, you can do the whole thing, you can do the whole routine. And to be honest, you could do it without even knowing how to solve Rubik's Cube. So it's really simple, but the thing about it is that it looks like it's impossible, which is what kind of sells it, I think.
Yeah, and although it doesn't really make any difference to what you're doing, you use the fact that letters are on there that make it more challenging. That you're not only having to move the letters and the pieces, right? You're actually physically having to orientate the letters right as well. So then it adds this extra layer of apparent impossibility to what you're doing, when in theory it means nothing to us as magicians. But we get that extra kick of people going, "Oh man, that looks impossible."
It generally does. Like, it looks far more perplexing just because there's letters on it, when in actual fact, if you look past that, it's just a cube. And we need to be frightened of it as performers, correct?
Right, yeah.
100%. And I think the other thing that sells it is that when you look at the cube, all of the letters are in like a different orientation. So it kind of it feels like it's even harder not just to get the letters on the right side, but to get them in the correct orientation. Yeah. So obviously there's loads of solutions to this. So you'll see on this side of the cube, I've actually got the word solutions.
That's great.
And you'll see, and this is how the revelations work. All of the letters are in the correct orientation, so they're really clear and easy for anybody to see. And just by doing 4 moves, that allows you to reveal magicians, for example, right? But we're not on the magicians podcast. We're on the Magic Guys podcast.
Hey, look at that!
Oh snap!
There he was in like the pre-interview saying that nothing was set. It's all surprise. No, we haven't got anything special planned. No, and there he goes, pulls that out of the bag.
But this is the thing. Like, once you've got Cubeify, and obviously the way that we teach to set it up is for the revelations that link to the routine. But once you know the sort of concept, you can customize it if you want. So if you've got a corporate gig for a specific client, and you know who you're going to do, you could customize it and set it up for those. So there's lots of other possibilities with it as well.
That's deeply exciting, knowing that you can customize it to that extent, because anything where you can promote a little message in the cube is such a good idea. Like, even if you were I'm just spitballing an idea, as we do a lot on the podcast, where you could do something as simple as talk about trying to solve problems, and then you do it. And then not only is it looks like it's solved, but it's not solved, and you actually read the letters, and the letters actually have a revelation. Like, that would play so big to camera in a situation like that. That's wonderful. What I'm curious about, though, is why did you guys choose to go down the musical route when first releasing this? Now, does it come set up for the music realm, and then you can customize it afterwards?
So really, if we talk about how we kind of came up with it, and then we can kind of get to where I think the music side came from. So during COVID, I think I said in the last time I was doing a lot of virtual shows, and I used to do like a virtual cube matching effect, which sounds like, how is that possible? But it was actually quite good, right? It was all right. And then I had like a corporate client rebook for another 60-minute show like 2 weeks later, and I was like, I've done my show. Like, how can I come up with something else? So I found at the time it was a stickerless cube, and I had this idea of using Digital Force Bag by Nick Einhorn and Craig Squires, and basically being able to get things chosen by the people watching, and I wanted to try and link it to a cube. And I'd purchased one of Kev's products years ago called Cube Cards, which was from Saturn Magic, and it's still available, I believe. And he taught essentially an early version of this system, but I really liked it because it only needed a couple of moves to do it, and the same moves in and out of what it basically is. I don't know how much we're kind of revealing on here what it is, but I'm sure people will start to realize what this is as we talk, or what part of the method is. And I kind of did it with celebrities, and I thought, oh, that's a really, really nice idea, and it got a really good reaction. And I just had two celebrities. It was Jim Carrey and Tom Cruise. And I remember shooting a video and sending it to Kev saying, look, I've got this idea with your thing that you teach on cube cards. And he went to me, I goes, I think there might already be something out like it. And there was, but it was done with like images, like mosaic tiles and that. So it wasn't quite the same, and we kind of didn't talk about it for years. And I saw Kev at the Magic Circle years later, and then I said, I think there's still something in that. I think we can really build it into something else, but I need you on board because it's based on your idea, and I think that we can, make it into something much better than what I originally thought it was going to be. And that's what we did. A lot of going backwards and forwards, a lot of late nights, and sort of rehearsing and coming out and changing things, and we got to where we are with it. But again, the whole music thing just seemed to fit with it, or we really like the idea of linking the branding of like Spotify and Cubeify and having the music idea, and it just seemed that songs and music connect to people in a certain way, and you find that when you start performing Cubeify, that people connect to it because you're not dealing with random information. These are songs and artists that hold bearing, I guess, over people's lives. So yeah, that's a really long-winded answer. I told you, if I start, Nick, I won't stop.
No, it's great because it actually leads me to think that this has been around or conceptualized for many years. So how long has it been before it's gotten to where it is now?
Oh, so literally like 2020 or something, was it?
Yeah, it was 2020, I think, when Paul sent me the original video with the two revelations. And when I first saw it, I liked the idea of it, but for me, I was like, I just wanted more out of it. And just with those two revelations, and there was something with the pictures, and I kind of thought I didn't really know where to go with it. So it wasn't mentioned, as Paul said, for years. And then I got with Paul at the Magic Circle, and he reminded me about it. I was like, do you know what? Let me go and have another look at this. And then I thought there's a few sort of parameters I wanted to put in that I was working towards, which was I wanted to be able to get as many reveals possible using the cube. But there was a couple of restrictions because of like the positions on the cube, you've got like these 9 squares, right? And yeah, and I've got positions on there. You've got these 9 squares, so that's actually a really difficult restriction, because now you can only have revelations which fit into 9 letters if you want them to be on one side, right? So I've got this absolutely huge spreadsheet which contains, I had countries. Australia's one of them. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a couple of other things linked to Australia. And then I had celebrities. So there was like actors, there was singers, there's sports people. I've got hundreds and hundreds, right? But the one that seemed to fit in with the system, and when I say the system, is the way that it's designed is that I've had to recycle some of the letters. So those letters had to be in the exact right position for a different revelation, but the letters also had to be in the correct orientation. I hope that makes sense. It's
It
quite
makes perfect
confusing.
sense. So,
Yeah.
so for example, like magic, the letter G is in the third position. So if you can have multiple words with the G in the third position, then you have more opportunities to do more revelations.
Sort of, but when you mix a cube, the G won't necessarily, that G for your example wouldn't necessarily stay in the third position. It might then go in the eighth position, for example, right?
Right.
So then the word has to, the revelation has to fit into that. This is because I wanted to have multiple revelations, and I think initially there was 5 celebrities, and we settled on, so there's 4 key celebrities, but then there's also one of the tracks can be revealed on the cube. There's also then another additional couple of revelations which link into a gag to do with Kanye West. But then all of the other revelations are built into the box. So you get like a custom designed box with the effect as well. So after you've done the revelation of the celebrity, you can then do a revelation of the track or the song on the box as well, or on the cube. And then you can finish with a soul of the cube as well. So there's loads of stuff that's been built into it to make it so it's like a whole routine now, rather than just like a fleeting, like one-off little effect.
Yeah, and to answer your question, Nick, earlier on, so when you get Cubeify, it comes flat packed, and you don't get a cube with it. And the reason we decided on that was that at this point in most magicians' careers or lives, Rubik's Cube stuff's been around a while. And although this is very different, a lot of people have got their cube now that they like to use. So we didn't want to make it restrictive. So what you get is you get a set of stickers with it. They're black. Kev seems to have got the only limited edition gold version there. That's like the golden boy version, all right? That nobody else gets that version other than Kev. So he's showing that off. Even I haven't got that version, all right? So you get black stickers, and they've kind of got this embossed look. So when you put them on the cube, it generally looks like almost like the cubes have been made specially. They look really, really nice. So you get the stickers with it. You get the box, which Kev was saying, which aids as the revelations as part of some of the routines, and you also get this sort of sticker sheet as well, that you can build the box out of paper if you want to, and it just helps with setting up the cube to make it easier. So I mean, all in all, if you sit down and do it, it's probably going to take 10 minutes, 15 minutes max to sticker up a cube, and once it's done, it's done. But the beautiful thing is you could use the Henry Harris's cubes, right? The Rubik's Dream cubes, if you wanted to. I've stickered up a couple of those before, but I now use a speed cube, which is a Diane Zanchi. Thanks to Kev for that one. But you can use whichever cube you want. So it's all good.
Yeah, because I was thinking that myself, I've got the Harris cubes myself, and I thought, how do I introduce a cube if it's going to look not unlike the one that Kev put up a moment ago on the screen, which doesn't have any black borders around that? And I thought, but actually for me, it's actually more appealing, like you said, to just be able to gimmick up my own cubes and be able to do that. You said that you can get multiple revelations. I mean, I can only assume there's 6, but I'm curious, Kev, like, what's the most amount of revelations you can get out of this particular gimmick?
Well, as I said, on the cube for Cubeify, there are 6. I think there's 6 full faces that can have a revelation on, but potentially, depending on what word you're using, you can potentially get more. But it's not like, it's difficult to explain. But it's not like you're like doing revelation that side, a revelation that side, a revelation that side. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But I don't know. Like I kind of just was working within the framework that I'd set the system up, and that was kind of like the most I could get out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get the 4 celebrities that are built into the system that you can reveal on the cube, and then each of those artists will say, sorry, music artists, you can also reveal a track or multiple tracks that they've put out, whether that be on the box or on the cube itself. And then there's a couple of revelations that are built into it. And there's the thing that was really good and we were happy with was that the 4 that we managed to get out of the system are really well-known celebs. So let's say you've got, I don't know, a young trendy crowd, bit like you, Nick, yeah, young trendy crowd. You're your kind of people, right? And you feel like you're going to go for something like an Ed Sheeran reveal or sort of something like that,
Right?
Okay, but let's say you're doing a wedding and you've got a bit of an older crowd, all right? Okay, Ed Sheeran, although very, very popular, might not be necessarily the best reveal for them. You've got people like Elton John on there as well that you can reveal. You can then reveal one of his tracks, Rocket Man, and there's lots of lovely little bits. I'm biased, but there's lots of lovely little bits built into it like that, and you can go whichever way you want. You can do a full multi-revelation routine if you wanted to, but the idea is you can also do it, from group to group or table hopping, because you've got the option of different revelations.
That's cool. And as far as this selection process, I guess all the routines would be covered. And I think you also have full routines online, correct? Of
Yeah.
Showing a few different ideas. How many routines do you get along with the actual project?
So you get in regards to routines, what do? We go through single revelation routine, don't we? And we go through multiple revelation routine, and then we just talk about ideas as well about how you can make it bigger. So you could do it in a cabaret sort of parlor type setting if you had video relay and stuff like that. So that there's a few different things you can do with it, and it combines cube magic with mentalism, which is I think the really interesting side of it. And that's when we showed it to other magicians, we had the likes of like Mark Spellman get quite excited by it, because being a mentalist, I'd never think in a million years he'd be interested in a Rubik's Cube trick, but the fact that it's combining Rubik's Cube and mentalism, he loves it, and very nicely gave us a quote on it as well. So yeah. Am I missing anything there, Kev? Have we got the project is like 2.5 hours long. It was a long day in the studio with Kev. All right, no one should have to spend that much time with Kev. No, it's like it was actually a pleasure to work with Kev, I must admit, and he was highly efficient at all times. I probably wasn't, so Kev was actually better. But no, it's I don't know, Kev, have I missed something there or not?
No, I don't think, but I was just going to mention in terms of the cubes, because I was always like, if I'm doing magic with a cube, it has to be a black bordered cube, right, with stickers on, because that's the most well-known one. But for this, you can use a black bordered cube, but I think if you're using a stickerless cube like this, I think in this instance that's okay, because this is not like a normal Rubik's cube. It's a bit weird anyway, isn't it? You've got these letters on, and I think the ones that you would buy from a shop maybe wouldn't be black bordered. They'd be stickered like this. So I think in that instance, it's absolutely fine, and that's like justified.
Did you say to me, Kev, as well, that all Rubik's cubes now are stickerless, aren't they? Anyway, or they're made to look like they've got stickers on, but they haven't actually got stickers.
They're being phased out. So because like there's like this cubing community where people are sort of like doing speed cubing, they're going for the stickerless ones now. So a lot of the big manufacturers have actually stopped doing any of the cubes with the black borders. They're all just going stickerless now. So it's increasingly difficult to find them.
Yeah, and the selection process as well. Sorry, Nick, just the selection process. I think you mentioned it briefly then as well, of how we get certain celebrities chosen. They're all covered on there. We've got organic ways of doing it with the mobile phone. So literally all you have to do is take out your mobile phone and the cube and you're good to go. We've got ways of doing it with cards, business cards, simple stuff. It's all covered. It all looks kosher, and you're ready to create miracles.
I'm actually really excited about it now. The more we sort of talk about it, and I think that our good friend Josh probably has a few questions himself. Let's welcome him into the chat.
Oh, here he is.
Yo, what's up, everyone? Sorry I'm late. I was at the petrol station. They would not accept my credit card for some reason. They were like, "That's not platinum." I'm like, "It is platinum." And then they took my money. And then I was like, I can't believe that these guys stole my idea, because I have a cube, and if I solve it, check this out. We don't just have any guest on today doing cube stuff. We have Kev G on here, and I was like, these guys already got my ideas. This is crazy. So that's why I'm late.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys too. Thank you for being here. And I trust Nick has danced for you so far.
Yeah, it's been brutal, absolutely brutal.
Good stuff. No, what's funny is while I haven't been on the pod yet, I was listening to it the whole time. And the stuff you guys were talking about was really interesting about Cubeify, and the fact that you can, thank you for using the magic guys, by the way, on your cube. That's awesome. I'll pay you later. But I think that was the selling factor for me just then. Like, I always thought I would obtain Cubeify, but the fact that you can customize it per event is like the drop of the hat, right? Like, because like you can't customize a regular cube for an event, but you can if there's a revelation.
Well, let me say to your point that, like, a lot of times I've thought about doing it, but then you'd have to do an entire mosaic, and that is such a laborious thing to do. And I don't want to do that. The fact that you basically have like the notion of being able to achieve something that's as mind blowing as a mosaic, in which you have 10 cubes by 10 cubes, and you have to like carry all that. Like, the logistics of that would be a nightmare. I kind of feel like you have the same sort of response or experience when you see that, like the warm and fuzzies you get from seeing the magic guys written on a cube. Like, that's exciting, man. Like, I enjoyed that,
Yeah, it's good. I wasn't expecting that either, so he's a man of mystery, Kev. He's ready to go. But yeah, absolutely. And you think if you're just going to customize it for a client, let's say you're working for, I don't know, who would Josh work for? Google.
Well, let's choose somewhere like Starbucks, because that's 9 letters and that works perfectly.
Hey, there you go. Yeah.
But you literally only have to, do that if you want to do that revelation, and then just, put other stuff around it as well. So it's very, very simple to do once you know the system. And yeah, so yeah.
I like it. Now, we had Nicholas Lawrence on recently, and he was telling us about, the craziness of producing a product and stuff like that. Is that something you guys have covered yet? What I was going to ask was, like, what was it like actually bringing this to life? Like, was it a mad dash?
We both, as we mentioned earlier on, we both had products released via magic dealers in the past. Both have got other projects coming out with other dealers, but we're also now, I know Kev is starting to self-produce as well. So this is a complete self-production by me and Kev. Everything you see from the components in there, from the packaging to the production, the trailer, everything is done by me and Kev. And although it is really a lot of work, I'm sure Kev will agree, it's some serious legwork to get it done. You end up very proud of the product at the end when you've kind of done it, and also you're in control of the product as well. So if you're not happy with how something works, probably about, like, I don't know, 3 weeks out, we weren't quite happy with the trailer, so we completely changed the trailer. If that was via a magic dealer, we probably wouldn't have been able to do that, but we were able to have that creative control and do what we wanted to do. So I did enjoy that part of it.
And what have you chosen to do with your millions of dollars?
With the millions of
effects? Because that's what we all assume, right?
Yeah.
You create an effect and you rake it in.
Yeah, no. It's an interesting industry. It's I think that creating magic is obviously it's very nice to make money from creating magic, but it's for me it's not just that, it's a fulfillment thing and having a stamp on the industry as well. And something that I've studied and loved for a very, very long time, I get to have my own little, like I say, stamp on it, and you get a good feeling from that.
Well, question to both of you guys, because Kev made mention he's been releasing stuff since 2016, and this project in itself took 4 years for it to come to where it is now. But do you guys feel pressure to have to constantly release things, or is it kind of happening organically?
I think it's one of those things where once you get started, or if you put out your first thing, you're kind of thinking, oh, like, where do I go now? Because I can remember when I put out my first product, I was like, I'm done. That's it. Like, that's all I've got. That's all I've got to offer. I don't have anything else stacked up. So for me, it's kind of just like a natural thing that maybe when you're sort of in that mindset and you're thinking about, what could I do with this, or how could I do that, it just kind of comes to fruition over time, and it just happens. It's not like I'm like, oh right, I've got to come up with my next release or what I'm going to do next, because then I think that would be like a pressured thing, and then probably the quality of what you put out is not going to be up to scratch. So yeah, that's what I'd say from my point of view. I don't know about Paul.
Yeah, it's so I think I probably mentioned it before in somewhere, but before Overdraft came out, I'd had about 20 tricks that I'd over the course of a year like sent out to magic dealers, and they'd all been rejected. And then it just so happened that Overdraft got accepted, and then ever since that, it's like D. Christophers from 1914, he said to me, he goes, it'll be easier now. People will listen to you a little bit more. And very quickly, people started saying yes. But I've tried to force creativity before, and it doesn't work. But I find that there's certain periods in the year where you just get hit by a spout of it, and it happens. And I'll come up with like 2 or 3 ideas over the course of like a week, and then that'll be it for like 7 months. And then it's just a case of how do I then turn those ideas into something? And sometimes I never can. They're just not. They're not. Worth anything, or the ideas are terrible. But it's difficult. You can't force it. But as a creator, it is addictive. It's definitely addictive because you're releasing, and like I say, people, especially if it's well received, people like your stuff and they want to see more. But you obviously have to stay true to your principles and try and only release stuff that you back. And that's why everything I release, and I know we did it on Cubeify, I always release stuff that's got live performances, so at least people can see, even if it's not for them, they can see I'm actually doing it. All right, and I believe in my products and that I do perform them. So yeah, that's probably the thing I can say on creativity.
But what are the prerequisites in order to be comfortable enough to release it? Like, at what point do you sort of say no because of this? Like, is there a list of things that you sort of have in your mind? Like, it must A, it must B, it must C.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'm also just as you're thinking of the answer, I just realized when I wrote Kev G on here, like, this is permanent Sharby. So I've just committed this particular cube to Kev G.
Promote Kev G at your gigs now.
Yeah. That's a shame.
So I forgot what was the question, Nick.
How do you make millions of dollars? No.
So
Are there prerequisites?
I have certain effects that I do right now. There's ways that I do it, which are really sleight heavy, because I'm a sleight of hand guy, and everyone who comes to my lecture knows that. But whenever I sell the idea to people who want to perform it themselves, I simplify it in such a way that you don't have to do any moves at all. Because I've got a particular card effect that you need to be able to do an Elmsley count, and that's enough for some people to go, nope, not buying it, can't do that, can't do an Elmsley count. And it's like, right, you only got to do it once. But
if you want like when you're releasing effects, if you're running it like a business, you have to think of it a bit like a business, I think, as well. So if you're looking at and you've got a commercial idea, a bit like what you said, really, and you want people to buy it, it needs to appeal to the whole market. Okay, and we all perform professionally, but we're probably a small percentage in the world that do overall as magicians. So it is, I think, true that methods do need to be streamlined if you want the products to be more available. But that's not to say that you force that. So for instance, overdraft, right? Very, very simple to perform. I didn't make it that way. It just so happened that those certain moves that I use to do it are very simple because that's all that's needed to be able to do it. All right. But yeah, it's interesting what you said, Nick, about, you've got effects and you simplify it for other people because you want them to be able to do it as well. And it's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. We're all just taking it in. Have you ever considered putting out a really hard effect just to see what happens? Because I reckon there's a balance between the majority buying it and then like a respect level, which like, because for example, like I love Ozzy Wynn's work, and it's, some of it's very hard, but there's a reason why his books are always sold out, even if no one ends up performing it. So there's probably a market for everything, but I guess what I'm saying is, like, have you considered being like, maybe for Kev, like, because cube work can get very convoluted. Have you thought about this? Like, what's the hardest thing I could put out?
Well, I mean, there's already I've already got a ton of stuff out on my refractor project, which I've collaborated with my friend Colin Klaus, and there is currently 8 volumes of that, and it's all gimmickless cube magic. All
wow,
right?
The Tarbell of cube magic.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. And we've also got some other stuff coming up as well, which is kind of more advanced stuff. So even harder. But the thing is we've got stuff that's accessible to people who just want to get into cube magic, and then stuff that like people that have already been established, and then for those people who are kind of like want to take it that step further, then we've already given them the building blocks to get there. So yeah, I've got that kind of stuff available, but it's kind of like each of their own, really.
So so you have levels. So you actually have like people can start here, get more into it, and so on. So I've got an idea for Paul. So basically with overdraft, right?
Yeah.
What you could do is you could start with overdraft, but then you could actually sell a second level where it's a manipulation act. So now people are producing, up to 30 of these cards at a time. And now we're talking volume, because now you're sending out, 50 credit cards at a time.
Yeah.
And this is FISM. This is,
Message me after this, Josh. That sounds like a business proposition. That does together.
Yeah.
Like overdraft max. That's what it's going to be. Yeah, there you go. It's
like
See,
50,
I think what I'm
it's called the debt collector edition.
Yeah.
But I think what I'm taking away from this is that there's certain things that have different intentions. If your intention is to share a really cool effect that people can perform simply, then that's great. That's your scope. I think for me, like when I'm lecturing, like I'll be lecturing in New Zealand at the end of next month. I remember when I first put this particular lecture together, and one of our greatest card guys, Barry Govern, came to me and said, whatever you do, first 2 tricks, make them so simple they can go and do them in the foyer. That was the first thing he said to me. And I can't tell you how much I disagreed with that. I just was like, nope, I'm going to do my stuff the way I do it, in a hope that people will, one, either see the efforts I go to, see how skilled I am, and it inspire them to get to that level, as opposed to just going, here's something simple that you can go and do yourself. And that was my intention. And I think that it's resulted in a lot of guys stepping up, because a lot of these guys now work for me as part of my agency. So I think it's a good thing when people want to step up their skill levels, just the same way that you're structuring what's going on there, Kev. I think that is awesome.
That is an interesting way to think of it. Now, I will say, from going to lectures here in Brisbane, we had Mr. Tango come and lecture, right? The guy that makes incredible coin gaffs.
Yeah.
And he opened his lecture with a pretty impossible any card at any number that he did explain, but it definitely flew over people's heads. And I wonder if that tuned people out a little bit, or made them go, what Nick's saying, like, oh my God, he's really good. He's not just a coin guy. Let's listen to what he has to say. But these are just words right now, food for thought.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I found that from doing lectures, if I started doing some of the more slight heavy cube stuff, I could see there was no point in me explaining how it worked, because no one was going to retain it or understand it. So what I've started to do now in my lectures, I'll kind of explain the stuff that I know people can sort of pick up and do pretty easily straight away, and then the other stuff I'll just perform it and say, you know, if you want to learn this, then I've got stuff to be able to do this, and don't bother with the explanation, because it just kind of goes over people's heads, and I think it's a bit boring for them if they've got no interest in it either. So I've kind of learnt that, and that's what I've been doing from then on.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I
Hey,
think
we have. Sorry, you go, Paul.
Yeah, sorry. I think that with where I'm in industry, what I do, sort of like the type of work I do as a full timer. It's not that I'm looking for easy methods, but often, like as I think we said before, methods end up getting streamlined, because you end up realizing that a lot of the stuff that you would learn from, I don't know, a semi-professional or really highly skilled car technician or someone just isn't needed. And actually being more direct and often being bold as well, right? I get really excited about bold stuff in the real world. Like I do a lot of watch stealing and things like that. And there's nothing as strong as that, right? It's so good. But my lecture is called Work in Magic, and it's kind of a play on words, because I work in magic, but also it's magic that works in the real world, and everything in there is relatively easy. But the feedback I get from the lecture is that people almost like it opens their eyes up a little bit to what's actually possible, what they thought they needed to do as a magician, and what actually they can get away with and do a paid gig. And that's one of the reasons I really liked the system with Cubeify, and why I was drawn to it and wanted to do something with it, was because it was, although solving a Rubik's Cube isn't technically easy because you have to learn it. And when I'd learned years and years ago to solve Rubik's Cube, it took a lot of time, right? I learned from Mark Elsden's DVD, Rubik Remembered, I think it was called, from Alakazam. And I still do that method now. And I knew that it was going to, once I learned that skill, it was something that I could carry on throughout my career as a magician. But I really liked the simplicity of what Kev taught on cube cards, because like I said, it only required the same moves in, the same moves out, whereas previous versions of something similar had required you to learn different sets of moves. So for me, because it was streamlined, it appealed to me. And with this, although this is really basic for what Kev could do, and it is very easy, it's something that definitely commercial enough for me to perform. We're talking about Cubeify, but yeah, it's definitely something I'll perform. And the reviews that have come out on it, people are surprised how easy it is, because if you've never picked up a cube before, obviously you're going to have the challenges of obviously holding a cube, right? Because you've got to learn to hold it. But actually, I don't know, like it's super simple. I mean, Josh, you're a cube guy, right? And I showed you the trailer, and I said, I think you'll like this. And instantly he was like, yeah, I love cubes. I love this. This is right up my alley.
Oh, yeah. Like cubes are becoming more and more relevant now. And just seeing, so the issue that I've been having internally as a performer is that, like, I love cube magic, but there's only so many things you can do with cubes currently. Like, unless you're really, really trying to be as creative as you can. But for the most part, it's like you can solve a cube, you can match a cube, and like, and then there's going to be other variations of that. So like internally as a performer, I'm like, too many people are doing that, which is fine, but I just don't want to be the guy that then does that act again. Like I know, Nick does cube work, I do cube work. We probably both do matching cube routines. And like, I would hate for someone to have watched Nick and then come to watch me and then see this. So like, I'm always trying to think of what other things I can do with cubes, even no matter how hard or convoluted they are. I think I share with you, Paul, that you already do this, but I've started working on the 7x7 routine with the larger cube, but then you showed me this, and this is a different thing, totally different concept with cubes. So that's why we're not going to air this episode in Australia, because I don't want too many Aussie magicians creating the same problem now where everyone's doing this.
Well, Cubeify routines would be perfect for your, the Brisbane Theatre. Where is Brisbane
Yeah.
Theatre where you're performing? Like, because it's a kind of a parlour, but it's an intimate crowd, right? How many are in the audience?
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah, we have 40 people at a time.
So this is like perfect for that. Like even without like video screens, because people would be able to see the revelations of the cubes. It worked perfect there.
Absolutely. And I'm also thinking too, like, have you guys played around with the idea of having like, 2 cubes that spell out a longer thing, or a 4 or something like that? Because now I'm thinking, the Henry Harris products that are out there. What if you, on one of his products, had the letters? So an audience member shuffles up the thing, goes in the bag, comes out, it's a joke. This one's still mixed up. And normally you would then match the cube, but what if it doesn't match at all? It's just, but now that's preset for what you're going to do with this one. Put it together, and now it could spell, it could spell Brisbane Theatre of Magic. That's where my head just went, because I'm like, I need more than 9.
Like the Rubik's Wall type thing, right? But with actual cubes. That's cool.
I like it. We'll talk.
There you go. We'll see that on one of your videos in about a week's time, won't we?
That's it. Yeah, you'll see it. Yeah, you'll see it online. But no, yeah. So to magicians listening to this, I think what it does is it creates another avenue for cube magic now that we can explore.
Yeah, and I think as professionals, we more appreciate utilities as opposed to having to do effects that are just created in such a way. It's like, you have to do this one trick the way we all do it. It's like, no, I'm going to use that utility and perform it in a way that no one's thought about. And it's like, oh, that guy's genius that he took Kevy G's and Paul Fowler's trick and he's made it this really awesome, hilarious piece of entertainment.
I have another idea. Have you guys, do you guys supply numbers with them or just letters?
It's just letters, but
because now, in Australia, mobile phone numbers are 10 numbers, but let's say you take it. So our numbers go 04 and then 8 random numbers. But what if it was, you took out the O and it's just 4? And what if you could like have someone mix it and it actually has a number and then they just add the 0 at the start?
Yeah, or you could have the
and it's like
on the cube. You could have the letters on the cube, and then those letters would correspond to a number. So let's say it was like the number C. There you go. Look, put that number into your phone right now, and then they dial the ones, and then it ends up ringing your phone, right?
Oh my God! Hang on, that's even. Let me just check that iPhones still do that. They do. So you can actually put that random number in. Hey, so we don't have to repackage this now. It already comes with the letters, so this is good. Yeah. So you put that in, and then it calls. Like the woman who's helping, it calls like her husband who's in the audience or something, like whatever. This is guys. This is the magic guys magic that happens in this universe now.
Without spitballing.
This is the
Cubeify 2.0 is coming in 2 months' time.
Yeah, but isn't that like I've been trying to think of a routine that would call an audience member in our show, and I was looking at. Card phone that David Penn has been, talking about lately and stuff. That's awesome. But like, this is something totally different. And this is seemingly very random, especially, it's good. Put me down for a 20. All right.
Yeah.
And that's what we're saying. You can, the world's your oyster with what you can predict and use it for and show and stuff.
Love it.
It's awesome. Paul, how is your, trade show and other courses going?
Okay. So when did I release a trade show course? I don't think I'd released it. I think I was about to do it, wasn't I? When it was last on.
That's right.
Really, really good. So it's I've taken on quite a few people off the back of that here in the UK, and now they've some of them have ended up working for me on trade shows, which has been really good. So for them, their investment has been, unreal. They've done the course. They've come and shadowed me on trade shows, and I've sort of let them have a go. They've impressed me, and then I've actually given them trade show paid work because of it. And they've been really, really good, because part of the idea was I wanted to build a team where I've got a surplus of trade show work that I can't always do. I now try and sell the concept of And I think we spoke about the brand magician team. So when someone books, they're not necessarily booking me unless they request me. They're booking the brand magician team. So then it becomes more of a trade show type agency as opposed to just me. It takes a lot of pressure off of me with things like family and sickness and stuff like that. And as long as I know that people are doing a good job, and they're doing my system, it works really, really well.
We're starting to see the bigger plan of Paul Fowler here, the bigger empire, whether it was planned or not. I like it. And random question: is there a place for Cube Magic in trade show work?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely. One of my there's two ways of doing trade shows. You can do, as you well know, if you do trade shows. I know Nick does. I think Josh, you do trade shows as well.
I would say I do like 3 a year. I wouldn't say I'm like banging them out.
With those Australian prices, though, that's all you need to do, isn't it? Like 3 a year. You don't need to like do any more than that.
I think it's the other way around. The UK, you guys, $1 is like our weekly wage. It's definitely the other way around.
Oh, fair enough. What was the question? Sorry, I forget.
Cube Magic in trade shows.
Oh, in trade shows, yeah. So there's two ways of doing, trade show magic. You can either use it as lead generation, or you can do more presentation type stuff. I've done cube matching effects before, in sort of trade show presentations. But I spoke to Kev about this. I do it a lot in my cabaret, and I do it even close up now, where it's the Solution by Michael Murray, where you put the cube behind their back, they mix it up, and then it comes out, and it's just what I love about that is that it takes it away from you doing something, and it then makes it about the audience. And I have experimented with actually saying that I can't solve the cube myself, and saying, but I want to see if we can try something with you, so that they have no pre-knowledge that I can even solve a cube. And then it adds to the effect as well, because apparently, they've done it themselves. But yeah, with cubes at trade shows, it works really well because you can talk about finding a solution, and you can talk about the pieces being like people walking around the trade show, and it's our job to find you the right connection and put you together. So there's so many different lines that you can put with it, that cubes work really well at trade shows.
Yeah, the trade shows. Yeah, the branding stuff is always really interesting because you typically want to try and use some of their products and so forth. I had a cookie company come at me a little while ago, and I was like, I need samples, I need this, I need that, and then they just didn't have a budget in the end. But it's just, there's a level of creativity you got to bring to the game, which is crazy. And I think that your product that's coming out now with the Cubeify with the lettering, I think it's just one of those things that, again, is only limited by your own creativity, and I think it'd be perfect for trade shows.
And just confirming, it is out now already, right? I put the link to the Penguin Magic link to it down below.
Yeah, it's been out 3 weeks maybe now. So yes, it's out, so you can go and buy it. It's ready to go while stocks last. All right, and there you go.
Nice. Nick, we'll have to check if our local dealer Piper Magic is stocking it. Otherwise, we'll just get it from the US. But that's exciting stuff. And because you guys have just had Blackpool, right? That's already happened.
It was in February.
Yeah. Was there any party that was like, damn it, why didn't we have this out before then? Or I don't know if that makes a difference in.
It just wasn't. It just wasn't ready, was it, Kev? At that point,
it was close. It was really close, but not quite. And it would have, but we couldn't have got it out in time and got it out via Murphy's before.
Yeah,
Blackpool.
we also we were talking about doing like a sort of pre-sale on it, but because we had a deal with Murphy's on it, that we just couldn't do that, and we held it back anyway to make sure that it got the best push it could do when it got released.
Yeah, I mean, at least by then you'll have Cubeify Plus ready to go. So
yep, with Josh's name on it. Yeah, very small in the corner though. Yeah,
but it'll be on right here from Magic Guys from Australia. Yeah. Now it seems like you've worked alongside Murphy's for a while now, Paul. Is there news of anything else coming up in the near future?
So Murphy's, I met Murphy's at Blackpool, as in like Murphy's team at Blackpool a couple of years ago, and I got on really well with them, and they took me out for dinner and had a really good time. Met some great magicians as well, and they just sort of said, you know, I'd had Overdraft out and Transaction out at the time, and we were just talking about what's coming out, and I said I'd like to, you know, self-produce, and I didn't have any idea of kind of what I needed to do that. So I just learned that process of what I need to do, and I've got, I think, quite a good relationship with them now, and the buyers and the purchasers. And I've got some other things coming out. I've actually got another self-release coming out. I showed Nick before we went on air. I can't talk about it on air at the moment, but I've just sent stock to Murphy, so that should be out in the next few weeks. And I've also got Kev knows what this trick is because Kev's seen it, but I've also got another trick, an EDC trick coming out that Murphy's are producing themselves. So it's actually going to be a Murphy studio release. And we're at the stage of sample stage, I think, at the moment. So hopefully that might be out in the next year, hopefully. And then, yeah, I've got a few other things going on, but it's just finding time because it is
You're
time.
a busy guy. Busy guy. We need to get you and Nick talking more because Nick has all these crazy magic things he does, and I'm sure at one point or another, Nick, I'm sure you want to, you know, spread your magic juju to the world.
you want to produce it with Paul Fowler effects, don't you, Nick? That's what you want to do. We need to do a combination on it.
We all want to sign up as trade show magicians with the brand magician and release effects through.
Yeah, spreading our magic juju.
That's it. I really want to come to Australia as well. So if I ever come to Australia, you know, and do like lectures, we need to hang out.
We'll set it up.
So you won't. I'll be there on my own waiting for you. You won't turn up.
That'd be really funny if you're waiting at the airport and then all of a sudden, like, you call an Uber and just a kangaroo just hops along and it's like,
yeah,
that's
Paul? Exactly what I'd expect.
Yeah,
that's exactly
jump in.
Yeah,
it's the vision I have. I mean, sorry, go.
No, they are close to verifying kangaroos as Ubers. Yeah, so that could be a thing. But please do come. Obviously, Nick in his city has the Melbourne Magic Festival. But you know, we are in different cities, but we can definitely tee up lectures and, you know, work on that tan. You know, we can get lots of stuff happening.
Do you see yourself having an opportunity to, I mean, with all your commitments with family and work and everything else, would you have an opportunity to bounce across the planet, do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, I get the 6 weeks off in the summer holidays, so that's always a prime opportunity to do stuff like that. But yeah, I did come over to Australia back in 2005, I think. So quite a while ago. But yeah, I'd love to come back and do some lectures and stuff. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious, what were you doing back in 2005? Because that would have been like,
I was in high school.
A long time ago now.
Yeah.
So Nick, I'm the same age as you. So I was, I think I'd just finished university, and yeah, that's right. I'd finished university and I decided to do like a round the world trip.
Well done.
And yeah, so one of my stop offs was Australia. So I flew into Melbourne and then travelled East Coast, basically up to Cairns, and then over to New Zealand, and then Samoa, and then the States.
Wow. That's a perfect journey for someone like yourself, which is kind of weird because I feel like that's a very Aussie way of doing things. I finish uni and I travel the world, and then I'll be a grown up.
Yeah, exactly. I thought I'm going to miss the opportunity otherwise. Do you know what I mean? I thought I need to just do it now. So
I'm going to go around the world and then not become a grown up. I'm going to start being a magician.
That was it. And I went on my own as well. I was like, I'm just going on my own. And it was great. I loved it.
Nice.
Did you have long hair?
I had longer hair for sure. Yeah. Longer hair. Yeah. But yeah, I think I sort of like dabbled a little bit in magic. I didn't do like a turn because I'd sort of started getting into it when I was at university, but I probably did like some card tricks. And that was kind of the extent of what I did at that point.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, I think to end, as we draw to a close slowly, we did have one speak pipe, Nick, that came in from Thomas Conger, and I think this could be a fun little question to end with. I'm going to play. I have to play it from my phone to my speaker. So, Nick, I'll just watch you with the audio levels here. But this came in from Thomas Conger.
Hey, Magic guys in chat, how's it going? Thomas Conger here. This is my question. So recently, I've had this happen to me in dreams before as an artist, where I paint something in a dream and I kind of can remember it and bring it back into the real world. I'm curious because I recently had a dream for the first time where I was actually performing magic inside the dream to somebody. And I'm curious if any of you have a story where you guys dream about doing magic in your dream, and if you've ever done something in a dream that gave you an idea outside and you started performing it in real life. That's pretty much it. I've had it happen to me, like I said, as an artist, where also many times where I dream of something, I'm like, man, that was a really cool thing. And I remember being in the dream going, wow, that was a really cool looking piece. And I can't remember it and I can't bring it back into reality. And it really pisses me off sometimes because I wish I could just hone in on that. And I'm curious if you guys have ever had that happen to you as magicians, since you guys do that constantly, especially since I know it happens to a lot of people who like start using VR headsets and stuff where they start dreaming in VR reality sometimes. Okay, hopefully it wasn't too long. Thank you guys. I'm out.
Can I just say off the back of that I had a conversation with a friend of mine just recently, and I was stating this, and I'll just be out with it. I think it's super douchey when magicians are all like, I had a dream that this happened. I don't know why. I just think they're full of shit, and it's really just not genuine. I just think it's bullshit, right? But in the same breath, I'm someone who does dream a lot. And I was having a conversation not too long ago where someone actually turned to me and said, you dream? Like, you don't just lay down in the dark and then wake up in the morning? Like, you actually go to a different place in your head, like you dream. And I'm like, of course I dream. I dream all the time. And so I started asking people, like, do you actually go to sleep and dream? Like, do you go to another place? You know, are you like, oh, I was on a boat with Abraham Lincoln playing the banjo, and then all of a sudden, Spider-Man came in and was like, hey, who ate all the cheese? Like, those really weird dreams.
Oh,
but, yeah.
Well,
so
this got really deep all of a sudden, isn't it? This is
yeah.
like, this is where it's at.
But have you ever dreamt relating to a magic effect and gone,
to circle it back to Thomas,
I actually have.
Do you even dream? And two, yes, go on.
Yeah, I actually have. So I've got an effect which is in my lecture called Payback. And it was actually after Transaction came out. I was like thinking about what else I could do with a receipt. And I basically dreamt the effect, and it was really weird. And I woke up and I went, will that work? And it's and it did. And I actually sold the rights to a magic company here in the UK called Alakazam Magic, and it hasn't come out yet, but they gave me the permission to basically teach it and make it up at my lectures. So I did do that. And also, one of my effects I got coming out of Murphy's, weirdly, I didn't dream it, but I came up with the method while I was in the shower. That was it. I was scrubbing my back, probably somewhere else as well. And then I came up with the effect and thought, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And so dream and showers. That's it.
Wow. Is it a sponge ball routine?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm trying to think. If I'm just being brutally honest, I'm pretty sure I haven't dreamt of doing a magic effect that wasn't real magic or something, and then woken up and gone, I definitely have dreamt that I have real powers, like that, the thing that we all want in real life, but definitely not like an effect
is that power where somebody the Siri names number, is it? And then you can somehow pull the card out however many times you want to.
Hey, dreams do come true, Paul, but other times, I can't fly, unfortunately, but definitely.
I don't know. Kev?
Yeah, to be honest, I rarely remember my dreams, so that's a really tricky one. But just jumping on what Paul said about like being in the shower, that's quite a lot of the time when there's like you're not having to think about anything else. That's when I'll go, right, yeah, that might work, or I can do this, and that happened literally 2 days ago because I'm doing a show next Thursday. I don't really do. I mainly do close-up stuff. So this is like a sort of stand-up parlour-y type thing. And there was a part in it thinking, like what can I do about that? And then I was in the shower. It popped into my head. I was like, perfect. Got out of the shower, made up what I needed to make up in it, and it worked perfectly. So yeah, those moments are great.
The magic shower. There you go. There's a new thing there, isn't there? Like
the magic shower.
Shower more.
I wonder if it's because that's the one time we're disconnected from the world. Like our phone can't distract us. People can't distract us.
That most definitely. I think it's when you have this moment of relaxation. And for me, a lot of things come to me when I pee. Because I literally, because you stand in front of the bowl, you take a second, you're like, and then you release. And then all of a sudden, like an idea just goes, hey, what do you think about this? And you're like, that's good, pee fairy. Thank you for the idea.
Just as you're peeing, Ed Marlowe's Miracles, page 17. I wonder if I could do that.
Well, one thing I do is whenever I'm falling asleep, I will see visualizations of things that I've been trying to create or whatever else. And there's one particular effect that I came up with in particular that was sort of dreamt up, and it was I have this card at any color effect. And I had to structure it and build it up. And it's a very complex deck of cards, almost unusable for any other effect other than just that. But I created it, and I just remember falling asleep and structuring every single permutation of the colors and everything else, and putting it all together. So I will say yes, that I think that when you do fall asleep, your body and your brain tends to process all the things that have happened that day. And it's basically doing like a random memory dump and just categorizing everything of what's important. So you can obviously think about more of those things in your sleep. And then when morning comes, hope to crap that you don't forget them all. I mean, I personally journal everything in first thing in the morning. So all my dreams, which are weird.
Nice.
That's why I think a lot of people say, if they've got to make a decision about something, like, I'll sleep on it, because like your brain's sort of like working, trying to solve it. And then next day you're like, I know what to do now. Or it's popping in your head, how you're going to solve that problem. So it definitely works.
That's a good point.
Now, Nick, we have an issue here. So we normally end with the final word, but we have two guests. So how are we going to settle this one?
We are going to have them fight to the death. No, we're just going to allow them to speak kindly to each other and to us. I think it's okay to finally take it home with the final word. You guys ready?
Yes.
Ready.
All right. So we're going to talk about creativity. That's what this has all been about, isn't it? So I think that magicians should always strive to add some creativity in what they do. All right. We owe it to ourselves as magicians, performers, to be different than the magicians before us, the magicians that we work with, the magicians that we know. Tweak what you do a little bit and be different. Being different is good.
Eloquently put. I don't know if I can say it quite as nicely, but I think what I'd say is if you want to be a creative, right? If you want to get your ideas out there, I think the more ideas you come up with, the more things you've got to pick from. But if it's something that you are doing yourself, you're going out and you're performing it and you're working it, it works 100%, then those things are the ones that have probably got a little bit of legs and that you can show other people and get their feedback. And then potentially, it could be something that you could release in the future.
Thanks for listening. It's time for us to disappear now. But we'll see you again on the next episode of The Magic Guys.